Hello, my dear viewer. Are you perhaps interested in history? Well, this is the story of how information and misunderstanding led to the fall of a Minecraft nation. My name is Ishi, and this is the Berry War. All this takes place in a Minecraft civilization roleplay server called Shallow Tides. More info at the end of the video. The main focus of this video is the nation of Berryton, a nation founded by a berry farmer that sailed from coast to coast, setting up small outposts, planting berries before leaving in search of greener pastures. He eventually settled in a small bay, later named the Berry Bay. Soon enough, the area had begun cultivating agriculture, and plans had begun forming to turn the area into an urban city. This new settlement was the state of Berryton, a trade and architectural nation with the goal of creating the most beautiful area on the server. The flag consisted of a white stripe representing pacifism, a blue stripe representing seamanship, and a purple stripe representing wealth and trade. Last but not least was the red circle, which represented the sweet berries the nation was founded upon. They were very eager to create history, making the first constitution of the server. They had an ideology of pacifism, stating that if the nation never intended to cause harm, none would come to them. Because of their experience on previous servers, they decided not to export this ideology abroad and to keep it within their own borders. Later, it had been discovered that other nations were also formed, such as Tong Yi, an isolationist dynasty led by Berling that was focused on development. Oberland, a civilization led by Julie. Oberland took their RP very seriously, making sure that all their buildings had names, stories, and quality. Lastly are the Minium Islands, an island society led by Ash. They were the smallest nation and just wanted to hang out. Berry diplomats were quick to establish relations with all of them, good ones at that. Berry traders traded various resources with the other nations and made sure that trade deals got honored, refusing to take any more goods than what was agreed. The Berries made plans to build an embassy in each of the nations whilst allowing Oberland to set up commercial operations. The four nations had warm relations, united in a shared interest in development and a distaste for war. This led to a period of peace and prosperity, showing staggering progress within the four nations, which created possibly the most enjoyable period of the server. In a time of international unity, a new threat had appeared: Jevil, a mad dictator hell-bent on conquering and enslaving the entire world before unleashing an eldritch abomination. Mor, the only of the four guardians of old that wasn't put to rest by the great floods. By summoning Mor, he planned to let it loose to wreak havoc and consume the world with him in it. Which, by all metrics of morality, we can pretty much all agree that is not good. Jevil worked in the shadows and was shrouded in mystery, whilst rumors of his whereabouts spread across the world. Berryton was initially unassociated with Jevil. However, threats and warnings from the Mad Baron started appearing. This reached a boiling point when a direct threat towards Berryton was found. In a panic, Berryton desperately contacted Jevil in the hopes of stopping a potential war, in which Berry High Command proposed many things such as paying a ransom. But because of Jevil's inconsistent and mysterious appearances, the discussion never amounted to anything. But this still made it so an invasion of Berryton would not come. Because of this, it was thought that this discussion could have saved Berryton. Little did they know, it would only lead to their downfall. Having thought that the controversy had subsided, Barrington went back to developing their city and trading with the other nations, visiting capitals and engaging in diplomacy. They even let Oberland use their XP farm. In the meantime, a new nation integral to the fall of Barrington had emerged, Homestead or Voidstead. I don't really know how it works. We'll just call them the Steedians. Unlike most nations, they were militarily ambitious and cared little about creating a civilization. In the early days, Barrington had good relations with them, visiting them and even potentially hiring them as mercenaries. When conspiracies about Barrington and Jevil had emerged, saying that the berries were siding with Jevil, going as far as to say that they were directly working with Jevil on his plan, even though the two groups had never actually met in person. So, to combat the misinformation, the Berry High Command did a quick but ineffective announcement reassuring to the other nations that the Berry state was still a pacifist nation. But when the conspiracies reached the Steedians, and unlike other nations who were more focused on developing their own countries, the Steedians were ecstatic at the prospect of starting the first war on the server, especially now that they had a proper justification. Peace was steadily maintained until the Berry High Command, not knowing how bad the misleading rhetoric had become, had agreed to help the Steedians construct a fortress, during which the first signs of hostility emerged from the Steedian builders. Accusations of theft and trespassing were hurled at a certain player named Balding Archer, who was helping to construct the fortress. Chaos then ensued, where the Steedians didn't really know what was going on, the Berries didn't know what was going on, and Balding Archer didn't really know what was going on. Not long after the fort was complete, the Steedians revealed that they had formed a coalition with the nation of Oberland, a Berry ally, and that they were ready to declare war. The Berry High Command, being informed of this, were very shocked and confused about the situation, desperately contacting the other nations to find out what the hell was going on. Turns out that the coalition's goal was to stop Barrington from summoning more, which was really strange due to the fact that Barrington had no intention of summoning more in the first place, let alone any knowledge of how to do it. When the Berry High Command brought this up to the coalition leaders, they were quick to dismiss them as false. It seemed that the prospect of looting Barrington was too much of an incentive for the coalition to pass up, and they continued their preparations for war. The Berries, watching in horror, also made preparations for war, trying their best to hide their stuff in quickly dug holes, and in various Berry outposts. One by one, countries that were friends with Barrington lined up to join the coalition, each wanting to get a piece of the pie. Even worse, coalition spies within Barrington paved the way for a coalition invasion. Barrington was severely unprepared for a war, the main problem being their armed forces, or should I say, the lack of one. As Berry civilization was mostly farmers, traders, and builders, Barrington didn't stand a chance against the militaristic Steedians. Originally wanting to surrender, knowing they couldn't win, the Berry High Command decided to change their plans drastically. Instead, they would go into a war of attrition. When the coalition invaded Barrington, they found minimal resistance and took the city with relative ease. However, the Berry stashes were nowhere to be seen, and the city looked to be abandoned. No matter, they would just have to get the resources through a treaty. The Steedians then offered a treaty where the Berries would give the Steedians the majority of its resources and be severely humiliated. Originally, the Berries were eager to surrender. However, it became apparent that if the Steedians had backstabbed Barrington once, What was stopping it from doing it again and extracting even more stuff? They eventually realized that appeasement would not work. And from experience from previous servers, they decided giving up and trying again was simply not an option. As the definition of insanity goes, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. So, at the last minute, the berries decided to reject the terms and go into hiding. This was the last straw for the Stedians, who thought that it would be a quick and easy war where they would just pop in and leave with resources in hand. Because of this, there now festered a deep animosity between the two parties, as the Stedians swore to raze Beriton to the ground and crush any attempt from the berries to rise up again. On the other hand, the berries swore to retake their homeland and destroy the invaders. However, nobody was playing along, so it just ruined the whole mood. The coming days were rather unenjoyable for both parties due to rampant toxicity. And if you were wondering where Jevil was the whole time, well, we don't know. He was probably smoking crack or something, watching this all go down. Anyways, the Berry exiles then became freedom fighters with the goal of retaking their homeland. The Beriton freedom fighters never actually fought that much. Instead, most of their existence was focused on organizing the Berry outposts scattered across the world. During this time, nothing much happened. The Binyam Islands and Tong Yi didn't actually want to fight, and the Stedians kinda just left. Because of this, the only nation that was still involved was Oberland and their sister government Yellow Brick, who were currently occupying Beriton. They didn't really care much for the conflict, as Beriton and Oberland were very close before the war, and through diplomatic communication, they knew that the berries were not fond of war and only wanted to live their life. So, to end the war, the Oberians and berries negotiated a treaty. The berries would retake Beriton with no resistance and return to their homeland. In exchange, they would be citizens of a newly established Berry Protectorate that saw all external affairs handled by Oberland. The Stedians showed hostility to the state, which sparked some arguments, as now the Stedians viewed the berries as bitter and treacherous cowards, while the berries saw the Stedians as backstabbing warmongers. After some squabbling, the berries then asked the Stedians to give them what they wanted from the beginning, which is to leave them the hell alone. The Stedians, although bitter about the war, accepted this deal, as toxicity is never enjoyable, and we both just wanted to have fun. Finally, the war was over. The berries could finally hoist up their purple banner and live their lives in peace. Under Oberian administration, they looked forward to seeing what was to come. And that's where we end the video. This has been the history of the Berry War. If you enjoyed, leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Click the link in the description to join Shallow Tides. Shallow Tides is a civilization roleplay server where you can set your own goals and carve your own destiny. This server is Minecraft Pocket Edition, better on Bedrock, and is being hosted on Realms. You should join the Discord to apply for membership to begin your story. Good luck on your adventure, and I'll see you there.